Hey, it's Chris. Roll Liege, baby. Let's do this. News. What do you need to know this week? What has been going on around the place? Gamefound's got some new announcements. We've got a new Wizkids game. We've got a few expansions that are upcoming. We've got a few reprints. A little bit of everything all thrown into one. And some interesting twists on the HOtNeSs as well. So we're going to cover it all. Quick style, Liege style. Let's do this. No BS. Subscribe if you want. Look, the most exciting news that came down to me over the last week is actually, surprisingly, from Steamforge. Steamforge, not Sea of Thieves, we'll talk about that in a second, but it's showing us now that on the heels of being delivered in terms of the first Monster Hunter World board game, we are getting a sequel follow-up expansion just like the video games, and this one is going to be Iceborne, and they've already got a journal over on the blog on Steamforge's website, so you can start to get a thought or a tasting, an aperitif of what it's actually going to entail and how is it going to be different. What are they going to play off of, again, with expansions, sequels, whatever it may be, whether it's the video game side of things or zombie side. What's new? What's different? Why am I going to get this one over the first one? Why am I going to get this one? Is it differently just theme? Is it different just monsters? Or are you actually going to improve on mechanics since the first time around? And we're obviously going to be striking while the iron is hot here. Instead of me just blabbing, let's pull up the page here and you can go straight to it, right? Large monsters, fighting them, capturing them, killing them, hoarding their resources in order to build more equipment. And they go straight down here. Jimmy Perkins, what is freaking new? And they go, new gameplay mechanics. Monster journals are coming and we're going to get to what the basics are doing. And so Iceborne's DLC, they say, for the original. And this one is so massive, though, they're actually doing the Elden Ring where they're going to make this one a standalone expansion. So that's what you need to know. And personally speaking, I kind of like that art on the box. So that's number one. Cross compatibility is there, mechanically speaking. And again, they run you through how the previous hunters working, monsters working, upgrading, and all that stuff, right? But they're saying, okay, they're creating a different experience, not necessarily better. I mean, that's the question point, right? Like, how different is it going to be? Is it 2.0? Is it 1.5? Is it 1.1? Because that's the make it or break it. Are you going to feel like if you bought the first one, now that the second one's coming out, is it making it obsolete? Juicy details, though. New monsters, awesome, awesome, awesome. Elder Dragons, awesome. 14 classes, new Iceborne stuff, and exclusive content. So yeah, how are you going to do some of this stuff on the actual tabletop? They run you through an example of Clutch Claw here, of how you're going to be able to use it and how you're going to be able to actually, you know, utilize these things in the video game that you may be used to. Monster Turf War, so monsters are actually going to be fighting in this game. That seems freaking awesome. And if this one is, again, any sort of upgraded version, again, maybe smoothing those rough edges, oh, this one's gonna be even harder to pass than the first one was. And that's saying something as someone who has Primal Ordered and coming and someone who also, you know, is looking at the secondary market of Monster Hunter in the first place right now. So that is number one. Since we're talking about it on Steamforge right here, let's go over here and let's just pull up this page. Steamforge's Sea of Thieves game, also going to retail version, Voyage of Legends. They've finally released a little more details. The pre-order is up on their website for $60 and they show you actually some of the what's in the box. And so you can see, okay, tiles, standees, event cards, fortune cards, voyage cards, and they give you a few pictures here that you can check out in addition to that in terms of what it's actually going to look like. But again, not a lot of detail there, as you can tell, but definitely some voyaging, definitely some modularity, definitely some income gathering. But apart from that, is it worth pre-ordering? Probably not. But, you know, another video game based IP, let's see where it goes, because they just released their other video game based IP, the Gears of War card game, which is too early to tell that, you know, whether or not it's going to be good and how you feel about that, because as a two-player asymmetric head-to-head card game, people have high expectations for that one as well. So the next new breaking thing that came out, so breaking in the middle of this, second biggest hype thing of the week is Lorcana, Disney's Lorcana, the Disney TCG foray, if you will, leaked last week some of the rules online, but now this week Ravensburger has officially put out a quick start rules summary guide as well as a bunch of little videos running you through how to actually play the game. Is that exciting to you? It's exciting to me. It's also freaking terrifying because we're getting closer and closer to that fall 2023 release, you know, around the time of Gen Con. And people are speculating, people are popping up all over the place, dedicated wise, just like they have the Yu-Gi-Ohs and the Digimon now and the Pokemon that are like solely that's what they're doing. And like, I'm tempted to cover this, but I also, you know, realize that this is going to be a huge freaking money suck. Huge. And I'm not sure I want to spend that much on something that's not going to get played. I'm looking at you, Star Wars Destiny. And here, if you go over to the Lorcana website on Ravensburger, I mean, right, here are the mini videos that I talked to you through, setting up the game, turning the cards, how you're inking. You only have two types of ink. It's like your mana, essentially, I think, what you're doing in your turn, the characters, their abilities, and everything that you need to know. And then they link down to the quick start down here, and you can blow this up a little bit, and you can get a better sense of what they're actually entailing. And they run you through some examples through the card play here, and you know, the ink that you're going to be doing. And I mean, the art is freaking fantastic. And just the concepts, I think, seem kind of cool. But I worry about it when they say it's fun 2-player, but you can play with 3 or more as well. No, thank you. But there's kind of almost the basics of what you need to know right now. So if you're interested in that, I mean, let me know. Like, if you guys are seriously interested in this, I'm more than happy to consider doing something like this, picking up the first set or 2 that gets released and seeing how I feel about it. But I look at this as well as something like One Piece and I go, I think it's more this than it is anything else right now. And that's what scares me at the same time. Now, next up, we're actually going to Lucky Duck, because Lucky Duck is foraying back into the companion-driven app situation with Destinies and Dark Quarter. You may remember those. And this is Into the God's Grave. Now, interestingly, there's also a book series titled God's Grave, and I don't think this has any relationship to it, but it was just freaking announced. And what do you need to know? Because it's already coming to crowdfunding next month in May. The end of May, this 3rd week in May, freaking ridiculous. But anyway, let me pull up the website and give you a little bit of glimpse, right? So here we go. You can see the graphic. It's got a countdown, digital hybrid board game, 1 to 4 players, cooperative. And I like the cooperative better. It gives me more of the Lord of the Rings vibe from FFG, if you will, just with this, as you're exploring the overland. And if you little scroll your little thing here, you can see me go back and forth and it gets explored. You see new people pop up, enemies, quests, secrets. Here's the app-driven critical situation decision-making that you're going to do, enemy encounters, unique heroes with unique decks. I like that. That's what's really missing for me with Destinies. And so if this is a better with that, I mean, because you know me, like, I love my asymmetric characters. I love my deck building aspects. So combination of lineage and class options, I like that. Skill with a little bit less dice rolling as well, hopefully, and cooperating as a team. So yeah, I mean, this has it all for me right now. So you go over to the crowdfunding page here and they've already got 1,000 followers on it. So yeah, I'm freaking intrigued. This one's higher on my list. I'm trying to get in contact with them, and we'll see where it goes. Now, this next one actually has me a little bit boggled, right? The release date for Expeditions, the latest of Stonemeyer's games, isn't until like fall. And it's still a little nebulous, but like, I think they announced it sometime like July, August. I'll look it up in the forums later. But, you know, not for 3 or 4 months at least, right? And all of a sudden, the Watch It Played video of how to play Expeditions just got dropped today at me filming this. And that just seems like really odd timing. And I know they're really masters at, you know, creating hype in terms of that, but that's weird to me personally to have a how to play video when it literally isn't going to be in anyone's hands for like 3 months. So, I mean, we're just seeing that earlier and earlier and earlier now, even on the retail side of things, creating some FOMO in that sense, right? Although, you know, again, it wouldn't surprise me if we see some of the usual suspects have their copies in the next month or so as well. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if pre-production copies are actually floating around out there in the hands of reviewers and they've been embargoed and we just don't know about it. I mean, that is maybe more of the reason, because I wouldn't be surprised if they have an embargo, say, on, you know, mid-May, and so they've already got their copies and you'll have mid-May reviews out. So that wouldn't be the other shocking thing to me from that aspect of things. So, which reminds me, like, it's been months and months and months since I've seen a reviewer email. Maybe I got taken off of there. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully I can get a copy at some point and, you know, see how it goes. Because, I mean, I really love the background of that game from a Scythe perspective, but the mechanisms in Scythe, just no. So this one, more appealing, at least from that aspect. Another thing that just popped up is Andromeda's Edge. You obviously may remember that. Andromeda's Edge just opened their late pledging. So, I mean, that's making some tidal waves, very small ones in the backer scene as well. And that'll probably hit on the HOtNeSs in the next day or two, just from that aspect as well. People being more interested, or people saying that they missed it and they want to get in, or people upgrading their pledge and things like that. You know, that's what happens. Then let's segue into the digital side of things again. LiveStream, Dice Tower Spring Spectacular, they do a whole bunch of stuff. But the more interesting note was just before that dropped, Direwolf here blew it up on Twitter and said that they are going to be playing one of their new upcoming games called The Wild Tiled West. Intrigued? Me too, actually. I love me some tile laying games, and this just looks kind of cool, right? I mean, it looks freaking sweet. And Direwolf, you know, if they put out half as decent a product with Dune in this situation, this one, Clank, I'm all over this. I'm all over this one too. No real other information, and I'm assuming it's up on a live stream at this point, and you can check it out on the Dice Towers, you know, channel and go see. But tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. In fact, I just added it to my Board Game Geek wish list in the edit portion of this video. And the interesting portion is you also see down here in the little where my head is, I'll try and scroll up, but it's not going to work. Pre-order, no crowdfunder, but I think they've done some exclusives or promo-esque stuff as well. And so what sort of deluxifications or incentive will they have? Because they've done that a little bit better as well. So we'll see. FOMOing. Now let's go sideways here for a second. Let's step and go laterally instead of a completely change of direction. Let's stay with the crowdfunding a little bit, and let's go over to Gamefound. Gamefound has just recently announced a bunch of new upcoming campaigns between now and the end of the year. And so some of those you're going to be familiar with. Some of those are going to be reprints. Some of those are going to be expansions. Some of those are going to be just new. And so let me pull up the page so I can run you through a little bit of everything, because there's a lot going on, and I'm not going to be able to, fully encapsulate it without, showing you, right? And it's not a tell you, this is a show you video. Now, the interesting thing is here, they have 3 or 4 of these prominently displayed. And the first one of note, actually, is Firefly. If you've been looking for Firefly, sort of the pick up and deliver style game, in the sense of very closely the more recent Star Wars Outer Rim, this is sort of its predecessor. And this is the one that people say, like, I'm looking for a pick up and deliver game. This is the most solid one from top to bottom, including the expansions. But the expansions have been out of print. The expansions are hard to get. And so Gale Force 9 is saying, hey, guess what? 10th anniversary, we're going to give it to you all in one bundle. How do you feel about them apples now? And the problem we have with it right here is just evident right on the front page picture right here. I hate I hate TV screen stills on cards. I think that's lazy. I think it's horrible. I just don't like the appeal of it all. And, if you guys are okay with that, I mean, I hate the Marvel Legendary expansions. Like, I will not buy a Marvel Legendary expansion if it's using stuff from the movies. I don't care if it's offering new mechanics. I don't care if it's highly rated. Like, that's just a turnoff for me. And so it's sort of like reading books that are in first person. I just don't do it. Like, I need third person. But that's sort of something, again, I know people are very divisive about or feel very strongly one way or the other. But, this is a huge want, because 11,000 people are already following this page. Take that for what you will. Let's go back here for a second. The other big one here is Beast. If you remember me talking about it last year, this is probably one of the best hidden movement games out there, period. Maybe second only to maybe Mind Management, and even that's debatable. This is an asymmetric hunters versus a beast with asymmetric powers, and you're, hidden movement trying to capture the beast, and they're trying to kill, or either kill the hunters or kill enough creatures in order to win. And again, you've got 8,000 people following. This is just being in the process of delivered. Mid-Hall Studios is putting out a great product here, and the only thing that they've said is you're getting a free mini expansion if you're following right here, this Shattered Isles, which is going to be 22 euros MSRP. So, I mean, if there's any question about it, you follow right now. But the real issue, I guess, that people have already noticed is that some of the content is going to be actually different. The acrylic standees that were offered during the first time around, if you didn't get them, well, you're not going to have a chance to get them, because they're doing something different here. They're offering miniatures as well as the regular standees. And so you can see some big quotes here. Hopefully I'll get a chance to play this one as well, like I did the last one, but we'll see. This one's not coming until autumn. And so Studio Mid-Hall has, a little bit of time on their hands to get that squared away as well between now and then. So that's number 2. By the way, I really hate how Gamefound still does this page, right? Like, if you click on Be All, it gives you just everything. Stuff that's funded, stuff that's not funded, stuff that's upcoming, stuff that's in the Pledge Manager. I mean, these are all just thrown together all over the place, and there's no rhyme or reason. Yeah, you can filter it, but I mean, the user interface on Gamefound is just not good. And, especially as someone who, said, okay, we're going to be an alternative to Kickstarter, actually make it utilizable, right? The only thing I've seen from Gamefound is the super big campaigns and the small campaigns, as I just talked about in the recent crowdfunding this past week, like with a game like Flutter. A game like Flutter could barely get $8,000 on here. Over on Kickstarter, it's got $21,000 in the first 2 days. And that's partially because Gamefound just is not accessible. Gamefound is marketing itself heavily to only the big names who have done really well, or the creators. It's not being a trickle-down, good, consumer-friendly website. As much as people want to go, it's just not proven to be as good of a commodity yet. And I say that as someone who wants them to succeed. I think this is a great freaking market share ability. Like, you can get such a huge market share over from Kickstarter, but it's just not happening for little things like that people are like, well, look, I can't tell, this is just, nah. So anyway, so what else we got going on here? We have Carson City, a big box, a reprint of Carson City, all the expansions, as well as a new solo mode. Again, almost 4,000 people for this game. I have no affiliation with this game whatsoever. Quinn Games is bringing it back, and it's originally a 2009, and we're going to see where else it goes. That was another one that was just announced, as well as, here we go, Coloma with a new expansion and a reprint as well from this one, 2019. Now, I thought this game was older than that, but 2019... It feels like a long time ago, 4 years ago. And Dice Tower excellence, so you're getting a good style of a game as you prospect into the West, trying to strike it rich with a Euro-style mechanism. They run you through simultaneous selection, boom, bust, and taking your turns with all your resource management and multiple paths to victory. Again, engine building, new expansion here, so if you're a fan of the game originally, is this going to entice you to get it more? As someone like myself who's just getting into this style of game, is it going to be something I'm interested in? Yeah, I'm all for this. Like Final Frontier, show me what you got. I'd totally give this a shout out, and I'd totally give this a C, you know, with my new expanding tastes. And that's what makes this hobby exciting. Now, the next one up here, we have Creature Caravan as well from Red Raven. Again, this is a departure because Red Raven, when was the last time you saw Red Raven? It was Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies. And they've sort of had a couple others in between. They had Nightfall at retail, which I reviewed as well. But this is, again, this is a cool concept, right? Simultaneous tableau builder. And I like simultaneous play. I like tableau building. And so if it does a good thing of both of those, I'm all for it. Now, if it's more like some of the other ones, like Near or Far or Rome or that, I'm not at all for it. But it just says, you know, right here, card tableau of creatures while traveling across the land, simultaneously playing dice on their cards, moving and, you know, accruing new creatures. So this is probably the other one that, again, I'll click follow right here because I think it's kind of a cool, it's going to be under the radar, but I'm definitely interested in seeing what it is going to bring to the table. And why get it on crowdfunding again? I mean, that's the other thing with Red Raven, right? They don't do exclusives. So yeah, we'll see. No date on this one, though. And then last up here, we have the expansion for Sky Tier Games, Sky Tier Hordes, which I also reviewed. And you've got about 2,500 people doing this one. Standalone expansion, reprint of a solo co-op. And this is a good solo game. So delivered on time, solid product. Get some promos here as well. Card battling, I mean, asymmetric factions that you get the ability to customize and, you know, contribute against going against unique hordes. What is there not to like in terms of that? And you can get more of it if you want. So a little bit of smattering across the board in terms of that. And you know what? I guess we'll probably have 1 or 2 more of these announcements even between now and when half these launch. So if you're looking at Gamefound as well, I mean, like, there's a great opportunity. There's a great market share they can grab, but you got to capitalize on it. You got to find a way to make it more customer friendly as well as just, you know, okay, we're going to charge creators less and that sort of thing. Because that's definitely been appealing. I mean, that's why you're seeing a lot of these big name projects go over there. But you're also seeing the lack of trickle-down effect for some of the smaller projects like Flutter, like I mentioned. And that's not me echoing that, folks. That's also creators. So take that for what you will. Now, we'll just stay up here because this gives a better summary of it than anything else I can do. Garphill Games is announcing some of their upcoming live stream stuff for some of the popular projects, as well as some of the upcoming hidden peeks and sneaks, as well as what you might want to know. And they say not only are they going to be visiting North Sea, so what are you doing with North Sea there? That's a little bit of an interesting trilogy that they're going back to. Then a new anthology game, new ancient one, as well as the third, I'm assuming, Inventors of the South Tigris, a little bit of a sneak peek on that. And that's going to be coming later this month in about a week on the 23rd. And so they're going to live stream that. And I kind of like watching these after the fact, you know, to get a little bit more info, just in a brief synopsis. And so kind of nice that they're giving you some advanced notification there. What's up next? Well, Wizkids. Wizkids just announced another in the Dungeons & Dragons style games. Now, I previously reviewed Onslaught, which is a PvPvE. Now, this one's going to be slightly different. This is Dungeons & Dragons, The Trials of Tempest. Now, this is more of a MOBA-esque style game, or at least based off of the MOBA experiences for this more tabletop skirmish style game. Similar to Onslaught in that sense. Now, very clearly, one of the most recent interviews over on GameSpot actually talks about how it's going to be cooperative, but it's also going to be half competitive because you're going to be going against 2 to 4 players in teams for 2 characters each, quests, obstacles, massive monsters, and opportunities to attack the other players as well as the monsters in the first place. And you're gonna get the full Dungeons & Dragons experience with this one. And so they say distinctly, the designer distinctly says, okay, this is different than Onslaught. There's gonna be more of a team-based situation here. There's gonna be more availability. There's gonna be more maps. I mean, the GameSpot, I'll throw that link down below so you can see the full interview, but there's more going on here necessarily than just what was with Onslaught in that sense. Now, this one is a little bit different though, because unlike some of the other skirmish games, unlike some Take That, unlike your regular D&D, they say that, okay, if you die, I mean, you're gonna have a respawn point, more like a MOBA-esque situation. And so that's going to be sort of the difference between this and Onslaught in some ways. The other interesting thing that I really kind of like in this sort of situation is it's got a Dead of Winter vibe, right? You've got an event deck. An event deck in a magical realm that just crazy things are going to happen. And that's sort of what you like about D&D in the first place, right? Like anything is going on, anything can happen. DM surprises you with something, or just you use a spell, a creature, or an item in a particularly unique way to completely throw everything on its head. And that's kind of what they're going to be trying to offer with this event deck as well. If that sounds of interest to you, definitely give that a look-see. It's coming sometime later this year from Wizkids. So there you go. What else do we have going on? Let's go to the hotness for a second, because one of my personal favorite games that's never going to leave my collection, one of the top ones of the past years, is Cascadia. Cascadia has just recently announced that they're going to be an expansion for Cascadia. It's called Cascadia Landmarks. New natural landmarks are going to be incorporated into the Cascadia base game that are going to create sprawling habitats with beautiful natural landmarks within them. They give the environment a unique look and feel, as well as dynamic new endgame scoring conditions. So the question is more better? Is this going to be one of those where, you know, you're going to be adding too much complexity, you're going to be taking away rather than adding in that sense? And so, you know, for a game that's already well established for being one of the greatest, you know, filler games of the recent past couple of years, you know, Spiel says so as well as me, right? So, you know, Spiel has more weight than I do. I have no weight whatsoever, but I like it. And so the question is it going to be adding just that sweet cherry on the top, or is it going to be adding like a pound of whipped cream like my kids do with their ice cream sundaes? And then, you know, it's too much. So that's going to be the question. The other thing that I saw recently announced over on Heavy Cardboard was that if you are a fan of any of theirs, the previous game from Beyond the Sun from 2020, from Rio Grande, is getting an expansion. And the expansion here is actually going to be titled Leaders of the New Dawn. Asymmetric factions, a solo mode, as well as new strategies are going to go along with it. They say that those new strategies are going to be primarily based around the central primary area control board. So are you a fan of the original game? Are you even aware that this game was out there? I mean, this game, for all lack of attention, this one is in the top 100. Did you know that if you know, this game is ranked 87th overall and like 57th strategy right now on the Board Game Geek top 100? That's crazy. If you had asked me where this was, I would guess like a couple, like 3, 4, 500. Nope. Would have been wrong there. So, I mean, I have to think that people are going to be liking that fact that they're going to be getting a new expansion for this, you know, relatively heavier space civilization game with a tech tree style of advancement for humankind as they dawn into the spacefaring era. But I could be wrong too. Is there a big following for this? Is it need an expansion? Are people going to be really happy with an expansion or not? And that's sort of the big question here. So what else we got on the hotness right now? Well, I mean, hotness is kind of all over the place, right? Recently announced crowdfundings, recently delivered crowdfundings, as well as currently funding crowdfundings. I mean, you've got Cascadia Landmarks, like I talked about. You have Earth, which I'm still trying to get played. And then you have Fractured Sky, which from IV Games is currently funding and about to break $1 million at the time of me filming this. So that one's out there as well. I should probably finish my Should You Back video and whether or not I'm going to actually put that out or not. Santorini is back on the hotness, not just the Santorini cooperative expansion, the Sphinx puzzle one, but just the base game because of the clicks of the original. Do you need the cooperative? I would make the argument of, you know, whether or not I have time to do a Should You Back on that one, but Too Lazy Didn't Watch just off the top of my head is probably not, because I think it's getting a little bit too far away from the abstract that people know and love in Santorini in the first place. I love the cooperative aspect because as someone who has a significant other who hates the game in the nutshell in the first place, it may be able to get to the table a little bit easier, but again, for those diehards that, you know, take this as a heavy abstract of one of their best or favorites of all time, especially on the Board Game Geek rankings, again, speaking of those, it's maybe a little bit too much of a departure from that aspect. Darwin's Journey is currently being received by backers. You still have the Age of Innovation. Terra Mystica 10.0 is coming out from Capstone Games sometime later this year. The rulebook is over on their website. And then you have, again, the recently returning as well as delivering Beast, as I mentioned earlier, as well as Jerusalem Anno Domini, which is still upcoming on my review list to put out here. So I've got a bunch in the queue, and that one's going to be upcoming in short manner later this month. An interesting side note here. Did you see the news over on Reddit? Reddit actually linked to a Japanese website where they said 2 men got hospitalized after a game of Monopoly ends in a sword fight. A father and son duo reportedly exposing the blade of a sword. Nope, that's not a euphemism. An actual katana was used in a game of Monopoly. Enough with flipping the tables. We've decided to go full sheaths off with this game, right? Whew. Talk about some family drama. AITA, anyone? Question mark? Right. So, you know, take that for what you will, but I mean, that was literally less than a week ago at the time of me filming this too, so a little crazy there. I don't know. That's about all of it right now. That's about the whole news roundup. That's about everything I got. A few more hotness things I'm sure are going to pop up in the next couple days as well, and I'll keep track of them, and I'll let you know where they're at, what you need to know about them, and why they're both important as well as completely irrelevant all at the same time. Short, snappy, sweet, and a little bit sarcastic. That's me. Subscribe if you want. I'm trying to get to 10K. Slow going, but I love talking about board games regardless, so it doesn't really matter. Just freaking love this. If you love it too, let me know down below. Anything I didn't cover, anything I missed, you can always shoot me an email. shoot me a comment down below. I'll cover it. I'll try. I try sometimes. I try. I'm just not always the best. I do my best. I do my best. That's all I got. I got nothing else. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. And in case you can't tell, I'm sporting some double Band-Aids here. Workout didn't go well today. So I got Chase from Paw Patrol on this side, and we got Batman because apparently my wife hides all of the regular Band-Aids. I was like, where are all the regular Band-Aids? She's like, well, I have them all out in my car. I'm like, what? Anyway, yeah, I mean, I got blisters and the blisters popped open, even all within the same workout. It was a little painful still. That's what you get at the end of the video. That's why I'm not hitting 10K this year. Peace out. See you around.